Professor Sachs, how do the views of President Kennedy on nuclear test bans and respect for Russian culture compare to the actions of our current leaders, particularly regarding the three potential conflict areas you mentioned that risk a wider or even nuclear war?
Absolutely. We not only do not show respect for our counterparts, we show open hostility and I would say trash talking. I refer to three counterparts. First, to Russia. The narrative about Russia that Putin is the new Hitler, that there's no talking to Putin, that war is the only way to protect Ukraine, is all warmongering propaganda of the military-industrial complex. It is false. It doesn't pass the test of any historical accuracy or scrutiny. What has happened is that the United States decided that it was the sole superpower and didn't have to listen to anybody else. And with regard to Russia, it violated every single interest of Russia repeatedly from the 1990s onward. I happen to know this at a personal level because I was an economic advisor to President Gorbachev and to President Yeltsin. They wanted peace and they wanted cooperation. But we said, no, we will run the world, thank you. We will overthrow your allies, whether in Serbia or in Syria or in Iraq or in Libya. We will unilaterally abandon treaties like the Anti-Ballistic Missile Treaty or the Intermediate Nuclear Force Treaty, the INF Treaty that Trump left. We will expand NATO contrary to our commitment. We will overthrow regimes in your neighborhood, like we did with Yanukovych in February 2014. We will arm adversaries on your borders. And what are we doing at a human level? We are canceling performances by Russian artists. We are canceling concerts by Russian composers. We are banning the teaching of great Russian novels. It's unimaginable how wrong this approach is in every single way. Kennedy made peace through respect, even at the height of the Cold War. We don't have respect. We have trash talking by Biden, which is a shame of an American president. A shame. He should watch his mouth because he does not behave like he should. Then we have disrespect for the Arab countries the same way. We lie in every way. We wring our hands as 37,000 people die, but we don't do anything to stop the mass killing at all in Gaza. And with regard to China, which has had a remarkable success in raising the living standards of the Chinese people, and incidentally hasn't been in one war for more than 40 years, as we've been in perpetual war, we do nothing but trash talk China. How it's a failure, how its economy will go down, how it's in crisis, how it's warmongering, how it's a danger, how it's a threat to the world. It's vulgar. I go to China several times a year and have done so for decades. And our propaganda is laughable if it were not so troubling. And Biden is part of this as well. So I do not have any admiration for how we're handling things. We're making everything far more dangerous than it should be and needs to be. We could negotiate peaceful relations in all three regions instantly. We could end the war in Ukraine in a day by declaring that NATO will never enlarge to Ukraine, that this was a bad idea, it was a broken promise, it was a danger to Russia, We have to find a different way to have security in the region, so-called collective security, not security at the expense of Russia for Ukraine. And this could lead to a diplomatic outcome. We can end the war in the Middle East by recognizing the state of Palestine, as the UN Security Council and UN General Assembly have called for. And we can end the conflict with China by simultaneously saying we're not going to arm Taiwan, we're not going to get into internal Chinese affairs, but we appeal to China's best interests and the world's best interests for peaceful relations across the Straits of Taiwan. And that will occur as long as the US isn't provoking a conflict by shipping massive armaments to Taiwan. So we have a foreign policy based on war and belligerency, and lo and behold, we continue to approach midnight on the doomsday clock.
Imran Khan is a personal acquaintance and friend of yours, right? Could you speak to that situation a little bit and why it's important for Americans to know about that?
Well, Imran Khan is an extremely fine individual and an excellent leader of Pakistan. And the U.S. helped to get him thrown from power. The story is a very unpleasant one. It was exposed by The Intercept. When Imran Khan did not immediately fall into the U.S. camp vis-a-vis Russia and China, the way that the American security state works is if you're not with us, you're against us. Imran Khan said, no, I'm not against anybody. I want good relations with the U.S., with China, with Russia. That doesn't work with the United States. You're with us or you're against us. And so the U.S. senior State Department official called in the Pakistani ambassador and said, we don't like the way that Imran Khan, who was then prime minister, is talking. Maybe it's not good for our relations. Maybe something should be done about it. And this was part of a standard U.S. regime change ploy. The note by the Pakistani diplomat was sent back home, and Imran Khan was voted out of office in a vote of no confidence the following month. This is a standard U.S. intervention. Imran Khan said to me, and he said publicly, the United States has gotten me thrown out of power. He was, of course, ridiculed by the U.S. and the Pakistani military for making that claim. Then he got a copy of the memo, the one that The Intercept ended up releasing. And when he waived it, he was charged with espionage. So on the one hand, it didn't exist. On the other hand, charged with espionage. And he was landed in prison before the elections, which were recently held. His party was outlawed as a party. Despite that, the backers of Imran Khan won an overwhelming landslide victory in the election. And then the votes were falsely counted. So they couldn't deny all the votes, but they denied enough of the votes to take away the majority. In other words, even despite imprisonment, even despite these charges, even despite the U.S. ploy, Imran Khan prevailed in the elections. And of course, the ballots were falsely counted and he was deprived of power. And the U.S. State Department shrugged its shoulders, as it does, because the U.S. State Department does not tell the truth to the world. It does not tell the truth to the American people. The American people would not know anything about this but for the brave word of The Intercept. So this is part of what people should understand more generally is American foreign policy. American foreign policy is depose governments that the U.S. does not like. Don't deal with them, don't negotiate them, try to overthrow them. This can be done by open war, or it can be done covertly. But this is the way that America operates in foreign policy. It is a disaster. It is a disaster for the United States, which has spent trillions of dollars in useless wars on false premises. It is a disaster for the targeted countries, which often are dragged into even decades of instability, such as Afghanistan, where the collapse of Afghanistan came after the CIA was charged with overthrowing an Afghan government in 1979. And this is a story that has happened all over the world. We need a new foreign policy, one that is cooperative, one that is honest, one that protects America through peace and cooperation, not through meddling and regime change operations and wars of choice abroad.